continuing on, right, the next thing which comes in, let's say we started with DevOps, people are implementing, and usually, let's say we take a small team, we start with that, right, and then everything is working fine. Now we want to kind of move it to other teams. So that's where the scale comes in. So Sachin, how do we scale, right? Now if something is working fine in a small environment, how I take it to other teams and scale it across the enterprises, across hundreds and tens of teams?
So for scaling, first we do very, whatever we set up, we have a right process and the things are there. Like for example, the messaging, you're talking about the risk, right? So saying like MTDR is a metric which management is interested or people are interested. But down the line, continuous development, you are not checking the code, it is not automatically tested, you will not get the right pass. In advance, you will not do work intersection. But there is no direct impact on my product. You're not going to go down next day. But when you say a message, this is the problem, is 80% decay, and this is a high probability in the next 6 months your product is going to go down. That message will help. Like a survival analysis. It's going to die after 4 years. These are the reasons are so messaging is important. Second is while scaling, right, if you have a right message, right setup, and it's not just about the tools, knowledge, and what you're capable of, it's a coordination. So usually 3 teams are involved, like development team, testing team, and the operation teams, right? And documentation is more important. It's not done by the tool. How you record it. You have a Jira, but you are not attaching the requirement document to it, or the design which you are supposed to do is not passed to the test people, right? Because this once Jira assigns just a number and that's one line of description. What you do, we ping the developer, okay, what I need to test. Right? So this is actually happening, right? So if you do a right documentation and you write out all the stuff, like for example, you're doing that the new paradigm called infrastructure as a code, right? Earlier we just bound it to one cloud. Now I can use one service from Azure, one service from Google Cloud and design my solution. Right? So you are doing infrastructure as a code and you are writing back those details like what you have coded and all the stuff, like desktop entities, not the code, but desktop entities and the details that will help you to scale well. Because you can do a reusability. Because in one project you set up a right practices and you did the infrastructure as a code for some services, right? You just document that Jira number, that's it. You have to refer that Jira number, easy to scale, easy to move further. Because hardware is already there, software is already there, people are able to support on the scaling front. It's a process and the people are following the process is a different thing. Right? So you have to kind of manage and intelligent enough to kind of raise the alert or intelligent enough to see a right message like I said, right? This is survival message. So you can, if you said this is a high probability, it will impact your MTDR is 20%, but the continuous delivery problem. You are kind of your change failure rate is going high. It will impact your product in the downline. This is how the probability looks like based on our past experience. Because that messaging will help. Because as a leader, you look for the product. My product is running well or is valuable or not. That's we look forward. You don't look for all the 14 metrics. It's there. These skill views there. But people have to understand the scale well accordingly.
Sure.
So just to take on that, right? The problem with scaling is that IT says I am the boss, I know what to do, and business is never involved. And if that happens, no matter what you do, you will put a Google appliance, you will not scale up. Okay? I'll give you an example again. I was on a call with CTO of one of our customers based in Mumbai. They are a large wealth management company. They're looking for a test automation solution, and they said, we have Salesforce which we use, and we need an automation solution for testing Salesforce. I said, brilliant, I can help you. But let's do a little scoping. What's your vision 5 years from now? He's CTO, so very easy, technical, build a solution, I'll make money, my vendor makes money, we are all happy. 3 months down the line, he'll say, no, I don't have Salesforce now. I have few more applications being added and built as part of my ecosystem because I am a growing wealth management company. I'll do risk management, I'll do this. And I'll say, oh, the tool which we propose to you doesn't support. Either the tech stack is not supported, or it only does UI testing, it cannot do desktop testing, or it cannot do mobile testing. Or you say, now I'm deploying Citrix, I cannot do Citrix based app testing now. So is it a problem of scaling up? Yes, for sure. But can you scale up? Absolutely not. You will have to redo everything, right? So it doesn't matter whether the infrastructure was there. The problem is you never onboarded business and put a business plan to your IT plan to say that, guys, this is what we want to do 5 years from now. This is our plan. Please tell us how do we set up the ecosystem. And that's where the scale up doesn't happen.
Mostly I think we consider, let's say, as a normal kind of scaling more of a technical, but I think hearing it is not a technical, it's more of aligning different
Technical
stakeholders
is just to enable.
Enable,
right?
that's correct.
But business needs to decide and tell us. So if business doesn't know what we will do in 5 years from now, then very clearly as an IT, I will put it on the table that, guys, you are liable to have rework, you are liable to have completely redone your entire IT. You should be prepared for, because you don't know what you want. I cannot scale up your environment 1 year from now.
That's correct.
I just wanted to add on the documentation part. So oftentimes at a ground level what happens is for the sake of documenting, we document stuff and say that hey, I'm done. Now the problem starts when that document is referred by some other guy and wants to repeat that entire set of steps and something doesn't work. So keeping the document up to date is also one very important aspect. So like in our organization we had to set up multiple VMs for a particular product for a geography, supporting one specific geography. So once we did the first VM and we documented steps in a notepad that I did this, I did this, I did this, in a very basic way. And then for the second VM, I told my colleague that, okay, you don't get involved, I have documented this, let me follow this without your help. And then when I started following at the 7th step, something didn't work, right? Because for the first time, he had done something which I did not record. So then I realized that how important this document is, because these are like a good hybrid of technology and operations. And in a small company, there are like more dedicated groups doing that. So it has to be shared within the same group. So one is documenting and making sure that that document is always updated. And people must follow the document. Because many times you keep that in your code repository or shared location. Oh, I have documented. But who is looking at it?
And that's a good point, because see, with Agile, Scrum, it says minimal documentation and people
have translated it as
no documentation. So how do we kind of enable teams, right, that the documents have to be there? And I think what are some of the practices you follow to make sure that it is all updated?
Yeah, so on that front, especially, and it's a good thing that it can go bottom up. It doesn't have to come top down. So when we follow a lot of discipline when we build something in the code. So, for example, Swagger API, etc. So when you create your endpoints, make sure that it is compliant with Swagger, so that when you build your backend application, the entire set of APIs is already available, well documented. So make sure that and sometimes people use shortcuts, right? You know, they put those 2 or 3 lines and then automatically something comes up by default by ID, and people say that, okay, I've done document. That's not enough, right? So then the code review process comes into place. So that's the place where you kind of build up the documentation. So you have your backend application well documented. In fact, when we started on one of the product, we spent about 4 weeks just documenting the design. And we didn't even write one line of code. And once we had the design, now I look back, like after 1 year, 80% of it is still valid. So I feel happy about that. We spent significant time in doing that level of documentation.
So I have some metrics on solutions which on this. Documenting not always a problem, right? But having a right document is a problem. And especially infrastructure as a code, right? It's a very bigger change because you are creating an environment you are investing too much, right? So what we suggested and we have done actually, Alpha team is a part of it, who created this Terraform code and all the documentation and the steps. We create a document, but we allocate someone from the beta team, we didn't aware about the product and the application, who's following the document create and running the infrastructure as code. And once he approved, then only document was completed. Especially for the high level documentation, where you are infrastructure as a DevOps, right? Now, other side is the lower level of documentation where you do your recording gathering and your Jira move to testing, right? So while tester is testing it, he has to put a comment on like how well his pre-equation is defined and all this stuff. So he has to rate. So that rating will help you to kind of track that. So these are two key initiatives which helping to kind of drive the right documentation and improve it. Because as right, when you scale right, you need to think around reusability and non-dependent things, right? Like example, there's a product where you can use the product capability and there's a similar, like 80% capability there in the API form. You go ahead and use the API. So next day or next quarter you want to change something else to some other product or some API. You can directly do just the API change, that's it. There's nothing just it. So you could think around and plan a well architecture and solutions so that you have a less dependency and you have a right metrics and right setup to validate the things. That will help you to scale them in a long run.